Hi, we have today exciting guests from US. Please allow me to welcome my guests, Enrique and Heidi. Before I introduce them, let me tell you a little bit context about today's webinar. We are now together with the founders and the leadership team of Hacking HR, which is one of the most exciting newest HR communities that I have come across. And here we have Enrique and Heidi with us joining from US. And we'll be talking about hacking HR and also the future of HR as it's heading. So yeah, let me welcome you, Enrique and Heidi, and let's start our webinar for our Turkish HR community. So Enrique, maybe this is a good time to bring you in. And
right.
yes, we cannot see your.
I cannot turn on my camera, by the way. I don't know if Sharnem can help us out. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
So, Enrique, I think we will talk a little bit more about Aching HR, but tell us what made you start such a community, because you've been leading Aching HR since the beginning. Where is the need coming from, and what's the motivation? What made you create the community?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was the idea of combining at the very beginning, the idea of combining technology and human resources. Those are my two backgrounds, technology and HR. And I wanted to combine those two backgrounds into something useful and valuable to the community. Which is, one thing that is very interesting is that the world is shaped and impacted and driven by technology, but HR seems to be moving at a very different pace. And I wanted to bring these two worlds together. So that was the original idea behind Hacking HR, to do events around the world about technology and human resources. Of course, over time, we evolved and we have become much more of a community rather than just events. And now we have several things going on simultaneously, like the events, the chapters that we're creating, our mentoring program, our Slack channel, one program for the next generation of HR leaders. So several things simultaneously. And I think now the larger purpose of what we're trying to do here is, I define it as to create the best HR that has ever existed. Not just for the sake of HR, but for the sake of creating better workplaces, which create better societies, of course. So that's what we're doing right now. We are a global learning community, bringing people together to discuss about all things important at the intersection of future of work, technology, organizations, people, innovation, the impact on HR. And we do all that with the purpose of creating the best HR that has ever existed.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll come back to that, creating the best HR ever existed, but I'd like to introduce Heidi here. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, fine. Wonderful to see you. And Heidi is Enrique is being the founder, and Heidi is in the leadership team and the chief partnership officer for Hacking HR. So I think we have a great introduction from Enrique, but could you tell us what is really Hacking HR? You know, we know it's a community, we know we have workshops, mentorships, programs, but how do you see that? Because you come from HR field and now you're leading one of the world's largest HR communities. So what is it really? How would you define it?
Yeah, as Enrique said, it's this community really evolved out of a shared need for this group. So having been in HR in a number of large global organizations in the past, and also some smaller ones, the same types of challenges continued to come up with helping the organizations be more effective and have better cultures that really drive business results and create the right sort of experience for employees to be really successful in a company. people get up every day and really want to make a contribution. And sometimes they come into work experiences where things get in the way of doing that. So what we wanted to do was provide a space to collaborate with one another, to learn from one another, where we could think about, how do we leverage technology? How do we think innovatively? How do we support our businesses incredibly effectively so that we can create, as Enrique mentioned, ultimately better organizations, better HR functions, and a better world.
Fantastic. And how many members do you have, Heidi?
Yeah, so right now we have over 85 chapters. There's actually one in Istanbul, but local chapters are springing up around the globe. And from a membership standpoint, our global community continues to grow. We have a new website. We've got over 80,000, actually, Enrique, you may have the latest numbers. Are we well beyond?
We have 85,000 followers on our LinkedIn account, and we just launched a couple of weeks ago. We launched our membership platform for the first time. So that is growing. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we have a significant amount of followers on LinkedIn. Sorry, Heidi, go ahead.
That's great. Yeah, no, our numbers change pretty rapidly because the more people learn about the community and want to be part of it, the more folks join in. And, as Enrique said earlier, we deliver value to this community, both on a local level and a global level. So there's, on a global level, there's workshops, there's an interview series, there's virtual summits that we're planning. And a lot of this really stemmed out of our online global conference, that actually took place in March of this year. So what we try to do is be very agile, to listen very effectively to what our community cares about, and design and develop learning opportunities for folks that support their needs.
Fantastic. So it's in a way a self-directed, free-flow community for HR professionals to engage and interact with each other around the world. And it's truly international, and it offers different options. So in that case, Enrique, I want to turn to you. What is it like? What is the experience of being a part of Hacking HR? I mean, can you tell this experience from your since the time of the start of the community?
That's a wonderful question, one that I have never gotten before, actually. And I think it's a powerful question because it makes us think about what we do as a community and what experience we provide to the people who join us. I think now one of the things that we do, and I could talk about many things, but I'm going to talk about one. In HR, there's generally little opportunity for practitioners to be creative or to experiment in the workplace, because HR has pretty much always been in a box, if you will. So if you come to the workplace, and this is pre-coronavirus, by the way, now I think we have a little bit more leeway to experiment with new ideas. But before coronavirus, you would come with an idea that was a little bit, far-fetched or a little bit crazy, if you will, to the workplace. They would have said, probably not. We don't want to shake up stuff too much. That's too crazy. That's too much, too out there. So HR has always been more in the box, less innovative, if you will. One thing that we do in Hacking HR, and we share this philosophy with the people who join our community, is use Hacking HR as a way for you to experiment with ideas, not only in the events that you put together, but in the way you organize yourself as a chapter. It's unusual, yet I think it's going to become more common, but it's unusual to find HR teams that are agile, that are self-organized, that work in an agile format or organizing style, if you will. And that's the way we work in Hacking HR. So for the participant of the Hacking HR chapter, it is not only the experience of putting together events, doing so in an innovative way, but also organizing themselves in a way that helps them understand what agile truly means. So I think that's, in my view, one of the most powerful experiences that we are offering to our members, that they come here and they don't find the traditional HR kind of a style. Of course, I do acknowledge that there are some, HR folks that are very used to the command and control kind of approach, right? Where they are told what to do and they do what they're told to do, and they tell others what to do. And that approach, we know it's obsolete. It doesn't work anymore in general in the workplace, not just in HR. And for them, it's a little shocking that they come to Hacking HR and there's no president in a chapter, or there's no leader in a chapter, but that they come and meet with others, and together in a consensus kind of style approach, they decide what to do. So, but that's the future, right? That's the direction in which we're going. And I think it provides them a great experience to sort of live and breathe that kind of organizing model to see if it makes sense for their workplaces going forward. So I think that's perhaps, out of the many things that I could mention, that's perhaps one of the most interesting experiences that our members would get out of the community.
That's awesome. One of the things I wanted to ask actually to you, Enrique, is, you know, I hear terms like members, membership, chapters, and they kind of resonate with you know, organizations like associations or societies and so on. So are you one of those, or
No.
are you different?
We're different.
So what's the difference? In that case, maybe in a sentence, I gather the free flow, self-organizing, less structured, you know, agile. But what's the biggest main difference between an association membership and being a part of the Hacking HR community?
More than a difference in the membership, I want to say a difference in what we are. We talk about the things that matter. I'm going to say that.
Right.
We talk about the things that matter. I don't care for people to memorize some books to pass a test. That's not what, at least to me personally, that's not what's valuable to me personally. To me, what's valuable is to help HR practitioners and leaders to be curious about the world. To me, what's interesting and important is to help them use their imagination and their creativity to solve problems in ways that nobody has ever solved them before. To me, what's important here is to help HR practitioners and leaders to think and understand all of the things that are in the periphery of the work of HR. However, they are even more important than what we have traditionally done. For example, I am interested in them understanding what design thinking is, what agility is, what culture, coaching, employee experience, digital transformation, all of those things. When you go to the traditional associations and you look at their books, none of these things is included in there, not even one of them. They talk about laws, they talk about compliance, they talk about benefits. All of those things, you can go to Google and read them, right? But the thinking that you need to connect dots, to be curious, to use your imagination, that's something that you don't get out of those more traditional HR groups. And I celebrate what they have done. There's no doubt that somebody ever wanted to, bet for the future of HR, and they did. It's just that I think that a lot of the associations that we see out there in the world right now, they already expired, in the way they approach things. And we are hoping to be an alternative to those HR leaders across generations that are trying to do things differently. And that's what Hacking HR is. And we're trying to get more into that space, in the space of, we want to become more of a voice of HR, because I don't think that the voice that HR has today represents the values that HR needs to, is already embracing, kind of de facto, but it doesn't have representation, if you will.
Yeah, I can see this, the glitter in your eyes, like when you say the voice of HR. And what I also heard is it reminded me my work with one of my mentors about self-organizing communities, learning communities, and he would always tell me, in the traditional organizations, we have a lot of structure, but little room for emergence, creativity, which is actually leading the novelty, innovation. But if you want novelty and creativity, you need just enough structure, then a lot of room for emergence, and then wait for things to come up. And I think this is what I see as a promise of experience from Hacking HR. So, we're getting some, we're getting some also encouragement from our audience. I think they seem to love this emergent, creative, novel approach to organizing as an HR community. You know, I want to come to how this relates to future of HR, but I think maybe just before we move on that, so now we know what hacking HR is, how it works. I'm interested, I'm excited. Heidi, maybe that's for me to turn to you, is how do I engage with hacking HR? How do I become part of hacking HR actively or passively in any way? So what are the ways to engage?
Yeah, so the first place to go is our main website, hackinghr.io. And from there, you'll see information about how to become a member. There's a premium and a premium plus membership option available with some additional things you get from the premium plus. And then on
but
that
the premium is free, right? The premium is I don't have to pay anything. So the main membership is free. Okay.
Absolutely. And you can sign up to be on our newsletter from there as well. Or connect to leaders or folks in the chapter that are active in getting those up and running. So lots of different ways to connect on a local and a global level. There are other events too. So lots of online global events that you'll see posted there. So you can sign up and there will be links through Eventbrite to attend and participate. You can also go to our YouTube channel. So if you're not able, if the timing's not right for attending a live session, there are other opportunities to check in and learn from some really fantastic experts in the field. On the flip side of that, as Enrique talked about this mindset and innovation and creating the communities, one of the other things we look to do is showcase new technologies that are evolving. So there are also links there to connect to see some demos of some startups that are innovating in this HR space.
Fantastic.
Now, I don't know if you mentioned, Heidi, did you mention the Slack community?
Earlier, that's a great reminder. Yes,
yeah.
Slack community is exceptionally active. There are a number of channels out there. So being a part of that is a great way to connect.
So lots of ways to connect from the website, from the events, and from Slack channels. Heidi, I want to continue with you here. I think there's a question from one of our attendees is that what is the direction of HR which actually that you are seeing? Where is HR going in the midst of all that's happening? You know, digital transformation, coronavirus, human rights protests, in this new world. Where are we heading as HR?
Yeah, I think there's a really important leadership role to play, and HR, CHROs, chief people officers, in some really great companies have been contributing in this way for a while. I wish I could say that's the norm, but I think there's an incredibly active role to play both on the leadership team and shaping the business strategy and the work experience, as well as really thinking externally. And making sure that we're aware and connected with the ecosystem we're operating in. There's so many ways for companies to contribute to the broader community and to engage with other key stakeholders. And I think the HR leader's role continues to evolve in this approach.
And in this. So Enrique, there's another question that I think I want to direct to you. What do you think that the HR professionals need to do in this new world of HR?
My answer will be very straightforward. They need to learn non-HR stuff. That's what I always say when people ask me what HR needs to do in order to do better HR world. They need to learn non-HR stuff. And by that, what I mean is that we have somewhat mastered the skills to do what's, sorry about that. We have mastered the skills about what's traditional in the HR function. And I mean, not that we do it all the time well, but we kind of know about policy and compliance and we know about benefits, and we know about the law, the federal and state laws regarding employment and all those kind of things. But there are, as I mentioned before, there are many, many other areas that HR needs to understand and needs to build the capabilities and acumen in those areas in order to do better work. Let me give you one example of that. Digital transformation. When a lot of people think about digital transformation, they think about technology and they think about technologists, but they don't think that the process for digital transformation is ultimately designed to improve the way people work at work and to improve the way customers experience the services and the products that that company is offering to them. If you look across the board in a digital transformation process, ultimately it is all to serve people and to serve people in a better way. Who should be better equipped in the workplace, in the corporate space, to provide ideas and to provide insights and solutions and even design problem statements in order for digital transformation to do the right thing for employees? That is HR. But for HR to be able to do that, they need to understand how digital transformation works. Now, digital transformation is not part of the traditional core of HR functionality. So going back to my idea, what does the HR professional of today need to do? They need to learn non-HR stuff. One of them is digital transformation, but that's not the only one. You got another couple of examples, which are very common these days: design thinking and agility. None of those things were designed for HR. Design thinking was designed for more creative problem solving, but not used necessarily at the beginning for HR. And agility was designed in technology. Now, those two concepts have come in contact with the world of HR, and now we can utilize them to, one, design thinking to design problems that truly cater or truly focus on what matters to people, number one, and we can utilize agility to make those processes flexible, innovative, relying on feedback and quickly iterating when they need to iterate. Once again, going back to what I said before, those two concepts are not part of the core functionality of HR. So to me, my message to the HR practitioners out there is that if you want to stay relevant in this new world of work, you're going to have to go way beyond the very small walls of the box that HR has represented for a long time. And that means learning a lot of things that are not part of the traditional core functionality of HR, if you will. And that connects, by the way, Alper, with what I said before. Traditional associations of HR, all they offer is stuff that is within those four walls. We are expanding that criteria, if you will.
Actually, there's a question that reminded me, actually, one of my very first clients in HR 27 years ago. And that question comes from Ece. And then Ece reminds us that the HR, we've been talking about HR needs to learn non-HR, needs to be aware of non-HR functions and processes, but we are not seeing it so often. It's not happening as we are imagining. And so why do you think HR refrains to develop themselves in non-HR, or do not seem to be interested sometimes in the non-HR? Why do you think this is happening?
That's a powerful question that I have struggled for quite a while to respond. And I think there are several factors that I can point at when I think about that. The first one is that for HR as a concept has been around for 120 years. If you look at the history of HR, literally for 100 years, HR was never asked to do anything innovative. So it is like me telling you, stay sitting in your chair, never move. Your muscles will get weak if you stay there sitting for 100 years. And then suddenly one day I'm telling you, Alper, you got to go out for a run, and then you're going to be extremely weak. Even if you mentally want to do it, you don't have the muscles to make that happen. The same thing has happened with HR. For 100 years, organizations told HR, all you got to do is make sure that people come to work at the time they got to come to work, that they work the hours they have to work, and you pay them, you hire them, and you fire them. So that image of what organizations were asking for HR quickly changed into now, well, HR has to be innovative, HR has to be creative, HR has to be curious, HR has to be leading digital transformation, HR has to do all these things. So that muscle is weak, and it's going to take some time for us to train that muscle. There's going to be, like, when anybody goes to the gym or goes for a run, if you haven't done it for a long time, the muscles hurt the day after, right? That's exactly what is happening here. We're going through a period of transition, and the muscles hurt because they are not ready to embrace this new reality. So that is one factor. The other factor, in my view, and once again, I don't want to put blame on any association out there, but the fact that we kept HR or HR practitioners thinking that the value of their learning was equal to a certification and taking a test, that harmed us in inconceivable ways, if you will. Because if I'm telling you, Alper, do not worry about learning anything. The only thing that you need is to have this piece of paper with these 3 letters here, and all you got to do to get that piece of paper is memorize a bunch of stuff from a book. So when you look at workplaces that still require certifications like that, or things like that, I'm not saying that that's not good. I'm just saying that that's not enough anymore. So those associations, what they need to do is tell their people the truth, which is, it's great that you're getting the certification, but that's not enough. You don't become a great HR professional. You don't become a great HR leader just by having this piece of paper. This is one of the many things that you got to do to build your capabilities. And as long as we don't say that, especially those associations that have been around for 60 plus years and have thousands of members, as long as we don't do that, we're going to keep telling the more traditional HR people that it's just enough to have that piece of paper. And that's not true.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is we need to go to, what we have as a traditional structure, approach, and communities. They are good, but we need to go beyond them, and then we need to be open and innovative. I have another question. And I think the audience also liked your answer. I have some applause to you, Heidi. The question is also, when we talk about the direction of the HR profession, there are also claims that we are leading to a future where we will not need HR as a role as we have it today, and it will be kind of either disappearing, or it will be spreading to the rest of the organization. So do you think the HR in the future will be radically different than today, or how do you think it's going to be changing?
Yeah. So I think there's a big piece there. So Enrique talked a lot about how HR has been very administrative in a lot of cases in the past, very focused on compliance. And then that strategic side of the business, being connected to the business, understanding the customer, understanding the value that's created in the marketplace, and how to do that really well is incredibly important. Those skills on the strategic side aren't going to be automated like a lot of the routine work that's being done on the administrative side, which makes it even more important to continue to round out your skills and experience on the strategic side. So asking questions about delivering value to customers and how the company makes money and achieves its mission and objectives is incredibly important, because all of the HR work that's being done needs to be grounded in that context. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be able to take advantage of technology, which enables automation, which enables a variety of things to work more effectively, you've got to see the whole big picture and think from that perspective so that you can design your organization accordingly. The work that people do may be very, very different in the future, but those skill sets around thinking, doing analysis, and really understanding how the company works will be incredibly, incredibly important.
I want to add one more thing to that, Alper.
Yes.
And I fully agree with Heidi, with what Heidi's saying. And I want to add one additional comment to that, and that is that, if you think about the software programmers that are fantastic, they are very well known across different companies. So a great software programmer in Facebook who decides one day to leave Facebook, he or she will quickly be hired by another technology company because they want to have the value that the person brings. So what I'm saying for HR is the following. if we create the kind of value that people cannot live without, we're never going to disappear as a function. We're gonna evolve, and we're going to radically change, and we have to add that kind of value. But Alper, if you're bringing me value that I wouldn't have without you, I wouldn't want you to go. I wouldn't want you to leave. I would want to have you in my organization, whether as an individual or as a function. So to answer your question, partially to me the answer is also HR will disappear if it's not adding value. So the question for us should be not, are we going to disappear? The question for us should be, how do we add value so that we never, ever disappear? And that's something that we are still figuring out, but there are very clear paths towards the future, if you will.
So in a way, the administrative tasks will maybe be distributed or automated, but I think we will have new emergent roles like being an organizational coach or facilitator or a trusted advisor, where we engage, and our quality of engagement is quite deep in that case. And this will be really the difference we're making. So we're coming to the end of our chat and conversation. I want to close with one question to both of you, and then we'll close then. What's your wildest dream about HR?
Heidi, go first.
Yeah, I'll start. So for me, it's really around value creation and connecting with all of the different stakeholders to just create both great work experiences and great values in the communities where we're doing business with our products and services and other ways to engage.
So in a way, creating value not only in the organization, outside the organization, not only in the function, but also beyond our function, and really deeper connections at all levels. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Enrique?
I absolutely love what Heidi just said, and I just want to add one more thing. That's part of my wildest dream as well. And for me, part of the wildest dream also is that for that to happen, HR practitioners will have to come to terms with the fact that we were going to have to learn and to change, right? What we do right now is not enough. I'm not saying that it's not good. I'm not saying that it's bad or any of those things. I'm just saying that we have to really embrace the idea that what we have done in HR is just not enough to move us forward. What brought us here will not get us there. And to create that kind of value that Heidi's talking about, we have to step back and think, people ask me very often, do I get this HR certification or do I get this Agile certification? And I tell them, I know you want to be in HR, get the Agile certification. Because if you want to work for a traditional organization, maybe they require the HR certification. But I'm telling you, that's something that you can just look up in Google. Whereas if you really want to create that kind of value that is unseen from the HR perspective, you got to do the things that nobody or not too many people have done in the HR world. And so that's partially part of my my wildest dream in HR.
So you are inviting us as HR professionals to be bold and daring in our learning. Yeah. And also you go beyond something, the common, we always hear lifelong learning, but I think you are also inviting us having learning as a lifestyle. So lifestyle learning instead of lifelong learning for HR professionals. Yep. Well, Heidi and Enrique, we are delighted to have you with us. And thank you for your time and joining us. And we look forward to seeing you in the future with our events and all other webinars. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alper. Bye-bye.
And thank you to our attendees, and we will be with you in the coming weeks with our new webinars. Bye for now.